It's the end of the road for Porsche, as its bid to join Formula One has been confirmed unsuccessful. Porsche, which was so confident that it would join the sport in 2026, and even went to the extent of getting a patent on the word tag F1 Nally, or finally, has bowed out. Stay tuned as we delve into more details about the attempt and also tell you why it failed. Formula One has gone to great lengths to provide a suitable and very enticing environment for new teams to join the grid. In 2026, a new set of regulations is going to go into effect, setting up the sport to be more attractive to car manufacturers and teams looking to show off their technological advancements and compete at the highest levels of motorsport. This was a perfect platform for Volkswagen to gain a competitive edge in the market, hence why the group didn't shy away from showing their interest in F1. Last year, then CEO Herbert Diess said that they would be taking advantage of the new regulations to get into the sport, and failure to do so in 2026 would mean that for the next decade, the group wouldn't be on the grid. So the time was now. You can't catch up on that when you join a new team. You need 5 or 10 years to be among the frontrunners. In other words, you can only get on board if you have a major rule change. Which means that you can decide now to do Formula One, or then probably not again for 10 years, Diess said. Volkswagen owned Audi, and Porsche declared an interest and began talks with the people that they needed to talk to. The new set of regulations aimed at creating a level playing field for all teams and gave the interested parties a fair chance to compete in the sport. The removal of MGUH, motor generator unit heat technology in particular, made it real easy for new teams to join. The MGUH is a technology that's only used in Formula One. It's part of the power unit that uses the waste heat from the exhaust to generate electrical energy that can be used to give the car an extra boost and make it go faster on straightaways. Other regulations include increased electrification, which provides more opportunities to see innovative electrical systems from teams, the use of less energy, the transition to renewable and sustainable fuels from the currently used fossil carbon fuels, and improved safety in the cars because the MGUK motor generator unit kinetic will be enclosed within the chassis, in addition to 350 kilowatts of electrical energy from the MGUK, which is 3 times what it is now. A reduced cost cap as well, meaning that the teams wouldn't have unlimited funding, cutting down on a possible gap in development differences, and thus new teams won't have to spend a fortune to be competitive. Porsche met all the conditions that they wanted to and they needed to join the sport. After looking at the costs and technical requirements to join the sport as a new team, like Andretti, Global, and General Motors, or as a partner with an existing team, Audi and Porsche both decided that joining as a new team would be a much bigger financial risk and project for them to take on because they didn't have the infrastructure to do so. Rather, they opted to take the easier but not so easy route of collaborating with or acquiring part of a team already on the grid. And so began the journey of talks, bargaining, and more talks. The success of these talks depended on what brands were offering, what they expected to get in return, and whether the teams they talked to would agree to the terms or vice versa. After months of anticipation, a dead end has been reached for Porsche. Last year, what was considered a done deal with Red Bull came to a surprising and disappointing end. Porsche wanted an equal and controlling stake in the team, which translates to 50% ownership. And this was something that Red Bull wasn't willing to compromise on. CEO and team principal at Red Bull, Christian Horner, said that, "We're an independent team, and that's always the way we've operated in terms of being flexible and the ability to move quickly and efficiently. And that's part of the DNA of what Red Bull is." Still, that didn't stop Porsche. They said that they were still interested in the sport and that they would be looking into other possibilities after the team announced this. In the course of the last few months, Dr. Ing HCF Porsche AG and Red Bull GmbH have held talks on the possibility of Porsche's entry into Formula One. The two companies have now jointly come to the conclusion that these talks will no longer be continued. The premise was always held that a partnership would be based on equal footing, which would not only include an engine partnership, but also the team. This could not be achieved. With the finalizing rule changes, the racing series will nevertheless remain an attractive environment for Porsche, which will continue to be monitored. The other option is believed to have been McLaren, but negotiations between the two fell through for the same reasons as the fallout with Red Bull. Additionally, teaming up with Porsche would have meant that the team would lose its name, which isn't ideal for the team as Formula One is a marketing strategy for McLaren to boost the sales of cars manufactured by the company. The cause of Porsche's ultimate failure to secure a seat at the table is that it didn't offer terms that were acceptable and reasonable. What they were offering was the Porsche name, significant financial assistance, and not much in the way of technical assistance. Red Bull would then have to foot the rest of the hefty bill by providing necessary infrastructure and personnel, in addition to largely cutting down on their influence and say in the team. That wasn't ideal for Red Bull. An offer by Porsche of partnership in the development of their engines at their newly built Red Bull powertrains factory would have closed the deal very quickly, but it wasn't made. The powertrain is obviously a different challenge, and of course, if there was a partner to potentially look at working on with the powertrain, that would make logical sense. Our position is obviously the team is the biggest marketing asset globally for Red Bull, and why would we compromise that strategically for the long term? 2026, we are fully committed. We've recruited some of the best talents in Formula One with Red Bull powertrains. We've created a factory within 55 weeks and fully commissioned dynos. We've built our first prototype engine for 2026 and run that prior to the summer break, so we're on a really exciting trajectory that isn't dependent on outside involvement or investment. Strategically, if there's the right partner, then of course it's something that the group would be very interested in, said Horner. Red Bull went ahead and partnered with Ford, which settled for a branding deal without having any stakes in the team while also providing some technical assistance. Audi took a different approach, one that was more committed and lasting. They bought a 25% stake in Sauber, which races under the name Alfa Romeo. The stake is expected to gradually increase to 75% by 2025, which will make Audi the controlling shareholder of the team. Sauber owner Finn Rousing will retain a minority stake in the team. Audi also committed to being an engine manufacturer in 2026, which assures a seat for Audi in the sport in 2026, as they'll have the majority shares in Sauber, which will probably change its name. And will be running with their own engines. At least Volkswagen got it right with Audi. They have a team in F1. Porsche has a rich history in motorsports, but its involvement in Formula One has been limited. In the 1950s, Porsche entered Formula One racing for the first time, but they left the sport in 1962 because they were having money problems. In the 1980s, Porsche got back into Formula One by making engines for the McLaren team, with their engines badged under the TAG name. The partnership was highly successful, with McLaren Porsche winning the Constructors' Championship in 1984 and 1985, and driver Niki Lauda winning the Drivers' Championship in 1984. But Porsche's time in Formula One was short-lived. After the 1987 season, they left the sport again because the rules had changed and they wanted to focus on other sports. Porsche's last foray into Formula One was in 1991, when they entered into an engine deal with the Footwork Aeros team. I think that Formula One teams did what they could to make room for new competitors, and Porsche tried, but it didn't work. From the looks of things, Porsche wanted to slap their name and a large sum of money on the table and seize control of a successful team, and then take all the credit without having put in any effort. Probably not the best approach for a sport that's been steadily rising in popularity and growing in returns in recent years, but hey, props for trying. For now, Porsche is going to have to focus on other motorsports, such as the Formula E Series and the Le Mans 24 Hours, where it hopes to return as part of the 963 hypercar project. Now that Porsche is out of the race, do you think that's going to make it easier for Andretti to join? Let us know in the comments section below. And that's it for today, guys. Award us with a like if you happen to, like the video. Anyways, make sure you end your viewing in style by subscribing to us. Or don't. I can't control anything you do. But that much is apparent. Until next time, cheers, my friends.